Well, joining me live for more is Yuriy Sak, a Ukrainian defence official. Mr. Sak, really appreciate your time. Did Ukraine fly the drone?
As we have said, good day. As we have said on the day when this incident happened, Ukraine has plenty of targets that we have to hit on the battlefield. Our main objective is to liberate Ukrainian cities. We have no intention to occupy or assassinate the leaders of our northern neighbor, even though at the same time, we would like to stress that under UN Charter, every country, including Ukraine, is entitled to a right to self-defense. So from this perspective, we are doing everything we can to protect our country, to protect our people, to liberate those territories that have been temporarily taken from us by the terrorist state Russia. And of course, the incident to which you're referring to is so theatrical, it is so staged that from our perspective, the way we see it, it probably was just a false flag operation planned and implemented by Russia itself on the eve of the Victory Day, which they want to celebrate on May the 9th. But as way we see
so
it,
you're saying it may have been Russia itself. I mean, is there any other possibilities, Mr. Sak?
Well, another possibility, perhaps it could be the Russian partisans or insurgents. You know, there is a growing movement in Russia of people who are unhappy that their leader is throwing their country into international disgrace. Their leader is sending their people to die on the battlefield as cannon fodder by hundreds of thousands. There are people who still don't understand what is Russia exactly doing, trying to invade Ukraine. And for their leadership, it is beginning to be very, very difficult to explain to the Russian people, why is it that they have to go and die? Why is it the Russian army, the sort of second army in the world, has not had any gains on the battlefield in the last 9 months? And why is it that,
What evidence do you or Ukraine have that it may have been Russia or agents for Russia?
Well, of course, we do not disclose our intelligence sources and we do not disclose the way our intelligence works.
They're pretty big claims to make, though, Mr. Sak, aren't they? Without evidence.
Well, we are not claiming, and I would like to stress that it is possible that it was a false flag operation. Having said that this was not Ukraine, we have to consider the possible scenarios. So one of them is that it is a false flag operation by Russia. Another scenario is that it's carried out by the insurgents or by partisan movements in Russia. There could be different scenarios, but it was definitely not Ukraine because we are fighting on the battlefield and our military objective is very clear.
And there are no Ukrainian forces that would plan this type of attack, even plan it, let alone if Ukraine did it. Would you plan this type of attack, given what's happened over the past year?
During the past year, we have, for example, sunk the Russian Black Sea flagship Moskva, and we have said that we did it. We have carried out attacks on the Russian forces on the Snake Island, which we said that we did. Most recently, we have aimed to destroy Russian oil depots in the Sevastopol, which is in Crimea, and Crimea is an internationally recognized part of Ukraine. So we are entitled by international law to protect our lands by targeting enemy targets on the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, and this is exactly what we're doing.
How are things in Ukraine at the moment? Obviously, this occurred just over the border, but where is the majority of the fighting occurring now?
That's exactly the point I wanted to raise, that while the attention of the world was glued to what has happened in Moscow, now, during the last 10 days, Ukraine was the target of 3 massive missile strikes. The day before yesterday, the shelling of the city of Kherson resulted in the killing of 23 peaceful Ukrainians. Some days before that, the city of Uman, 6 children killed. Now, Ukraine continues to be the target of these terrorist attacks, these massive missile attacks. And of course, the fierce fighting continues in the eastern eastern cities such as Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Mariinka. So, and we are, of course, preparing for our counteroffensive, for which we are continuing to receive military support from our partners. And I would like to actually use this opportunity to stress again that Australian government has been great at supporting Ukraine. And most recently, there was a very interesting flash mob in Sydney, as I'm told, and in other Australian cities, which was about the provision to Ukraine of the Hawkeyes. And the flash mob is Free the Hawkeyes. So I would like to use this opportunity to join that flash mob and to ask the Australian government to free the Hawkeyes, because they are very, very powerful and useful on the battlefield, light armored vehicles, which could really, really be helpful to Ukraine in our cause of liberating our land.
We've heard you there. Well, Yuriy Sak, appreciate your time. I know the Bushmasters have been a great help to your country, and I know that
Absolutely.
This is a complex situation, and what's occurred over the border is not a great escalation of things, but I do appreciate your time and answering our questions today. Thank you.